Hello everyone and welcome back to Abyssin. Today, we're diving into a terrifying story. Three people descend into a narrow, dark, and silent cave. They're ready for a night of adventure, but they don't know that within hours, one of them will be trapped under tons of rock, teetering on the edge of death. What began as just another exploration quickly turns into a frantic race against time in what I consider one of the most intense rescue missions ever recorded beneath the ground in Colorado. If you enjoy this kind of content, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out. On the chilly night of October 9th, 2004, the cold Colorado air stung the skin of Ryan Gossieju, Franz Hankins, and Josie Goodlow as they approached the entrance of Narrows Cave. The cave loomed ahead like a silent, breathing void. For Ryan, the group's leader and an experienced caver, it was just another thrilling adventure. For Josie, who was still new to the underground world, the feeling was a mix of fear and adrenaline. A true plunge into the unknown. Franz, at 35 and solidly built, had enough experience to feel confident, but far from relaxed. The trio exchanged light jokes while adjusting their helmets and checking their headlamps. As soon as they stepped inside, the atmosphere shifted. The sounds of rustling leaves and distant wildlife gave way to the muffled echoes of their own movements. Every step had to be deliberate. The uneven ground demanded constant focus, and the walls seemed to press in tighter with every foot they descended deeper into the earth. By the time they reached the top of a chamber known as Spring Canyon, the narrow tunnels gave the unsettling impression that the cave had a mind of its own, silently watching them. The next stretch was a real squeeze, so tight it could only be crossed by crawling on their stomachs. Ryan went first. His movements were steady and calm, his breathing controlled. Franz followed close behind, grunting occasionally as his broad frame scraped against the rock. Josie hesitated at the entrance, her hands trembling as she prepared to enter the claustrophobic gap. As he dragged himself forward, Franz felt the rough rock pressing against his chest and shoulders. He kept moving until his fingers brushed against a protruding stone. Sensing it was loose, he instinctively pushed on it for leverage. That was a critical mistake. The stone held for a moment, then gave way with a harsh crack. The ceiling groaned, and before he could react, massive slabs of rock crashed down with a deafening roar that echoed like thunder through the tunnel. Dust and debris exploded around him, blinding his vision and choking the air. One of the boulders slammed into his torso, pinning his head and left arm against the wall. Franz let out a raw, guttural scream as the weight of the rock lifted his legs off the floor, contorting his body into a horrifying shape. Dirt and gravel began to cover his face, making it harder to breathe. He gasped for air, his chest crushed against the merciless stone. Josie froze, wide-eyed and panicked at the scene. She screamed, her voice high and shaking. Ryan, who had already passed through the tunnel, spun around at the sound. His stomach twisted when he saw Franz trapped, his head barely visible through the rubble. He called out, and Franz responded with a faint groan. Josie crawled toward him, trying to dig through the debris with trembling hands. Ryan quickly assessed the situation. Franz was alive but in serious trouble. The boulder had pinned him tightly, and the growing pile of debris was suffocating him. They needed help. The rock had locked him in place, and the pressure, combined with the inability to move, posed serious risks. Circulation could be cut off. Internal damage was a real threat. Worse still, panic sets in fast. Breathing quickens, but in such a confined space, there's not enough air. Oxygen runs out quickly, and caves are cold. With no way to move, Franz was rapidly losing body heat. The danger went beyond being crushed. Hypothermia, organ failure, or even suffocation were real possibilities. In total darkness, with no idea if help would come, panic escalated. Ryan knew he had to act fast. He began a grueling trek through an alternate path in the cave, relying on every bit of his knowledge of the layout. Each yard felt endless. His arms and legs burned with effort as he dragged himself through the tight passages, barely noticing the sharp rocks slicing his elbows and knees. All that mattered was reaching the surface. When he finally emerged from the cave, panting and bloodied, he grabbed his phone and called Mike Frazier, a veteran cave rescuer. He described Franz's condition and the severity of the collapse in precise detail. Mike wasted no time. He grabbed his gear, including a hydraulic jack, and called in backup as he drove toward the site. He knew every second counted. At the trailhead, he found Ryan waiting, pale and tense. They hurried back into the cave toward the spot where Franz was trapped. The sight was grim. Franz's face was ghostly and caked in dirt, pinned beneath the crushing weight of the slab. His body showed signs of shutting down. Breathing was shallow, each gasp a battle. His left arm had gone numb down to the fingertips, and his legs, still suspended in the air, trembled uncontrollably. The blood pooling in his head made him dizzy, close to passing out. The cave's chill seeped into his bones, draining the last of his strength. He tried to move, but the rock held fast. His voice, once steady, was now a faint whisper. Josie remained by his side, her hands torn and bleeding from trying to free him. Mike stayed calm, carefully surveying the unstable ceiling and the stone's position. He began clearing debris with his bare hands, scooping away dirt and rocks around Franz's head. The tunnel was so tight that he had to carry each load to a small chamber about 15 feet away. Every trip was physically and mentally exhausting. After multiple trips, he uncovered Franz's left hand, swollen and limp. He kept digging until he found the helmet, badly warped by the pressure. Gently, he unclipped the strap and removed it, letting Franz breathe a bit easier. Ryan joined the effort, holding Franz's legs and trying to pull him free. Franz's scream echoed through the cave, but the upper part of his body wouldn't budge. The ceiling groaned again, sending a chill through everyone. Time was running out. At 11 p.m., more rescuers arrived, focused but visibly tense. They brought in support beams and additional hydraulic jacks. They worked quickly to brace the ceiling and position the jack beneath the rock. Mike began lifting the boulder slowly. The sound of the shifting weight filled the narrow chamber. Inch by inch, the slab rose. When there was finally enough room, Ryan and another rescuer pulled Franz with all their strength. A sickening crack echoed as his body came free. The tunnel collapsed immediately afterward, burying the equipment and sealing off the path. Everyone froze in stunned silence. They had escaped death by mere seconds. Franz, now free, was in shock and barely conscious. His arm was swollen and purple. The rescuers moved fast, wrapping him in a thermal blanket and fashioning a makeshift sling. After a few minutes, some color returned to his face, and he started regaining feeling in his fingers. Getting out of the cave still required strength. The group carefully navigated the steep, uneven steps of Spring Canyon. Just past midnight, they met another rescue team with a special stretcher. Franz, too weak to walk, was strapped in. The team took turns carrying and dragging his body through the remaining passages. They were all physically drained. When they finally reached a walkable tunnel, Franz, determined to leave on his own feet, asked to be taken off the stretcher. His legs barely held him, but with the help of his team, he kept moving. At 2 a.m., they emerged from the cave. Franz's wife was waiting, tears streaming down her face as she hugged him tightly. He had made it out alive, narrowly escaping death. If you enjoyed this story, click the video on your screen now to watch another cave exploration that went horribly wrong. Don't forget to like and subscribe, it really helps me out. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.